Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. All Things Middle-earth here, and we have a legendary kit reveal for Thorin Oakenshield with Return X legendary. And besides the fact that he's not a shadow character, which I think a lot of people wanted, I think he does look pretty cool. So I'm going to look through his kit quickly, as well as the requirements for him, with more details coming on that, which again, they're interesting requirements. Not surprising, but it'll be interesting to see how many people can farm them up. And typically with these kind of games, they're going to pick characters that are less used or less farmed, so it makes sense. So we'll get to that in a second for who you need to farm if you want to get Thorin the first go around. Again, apologies, I sound like crap because I've been sick over Thanksgiving, so we're just rolling with it, and we're just gonna hop in here for the sake of time. But as you see here, Thorin Oakenshield, he is obviously light side attacker. He's gonna have the Thorin's company tag and Dwarf, and he's gonna be best used with Bomber and Bilbo. Obviously, we have three other characters in the game with the Thorin's company tag, that being Biffer and Feely and Keely. So you will have 6 options to choose from if you feel like there's better combinations with one, or at the very least, maybe we get plug and play kind of viability in something like raids, depending on which chapter you're in. We'll have to see how that breaks down once we see every kit we have here. But we got Bombor and Bilbo Baggins, which were announced with the kind of Thorin's company month. So we have that there. And again, they kind of go into more detail and quotes and those things, which for the sake of time, we'll just keep going through. But the first thing is his basic, which is called Brave Charge. And at the max level, it's going to attack the target 2 times for 95% damage per hit and inflict weaken for 1 turn. The next one is going to be Follow My Lead. This is special 1. It's going to inflict marked for 2 turns. A 2-turn mark is pretty nice, and attack the target for 280% damage, inflicting daze for 2 turns. So that is Follow My Lead. And then this one, which is pretty cool, it's called King Under the Mountain. At the max level here, we're going to double the stacks of Overwhelmed, which we'll get to what Overwhelmed is, because that's a new boon we're getting with Thorin here. So double the stacks of Overwhelmed on the target enemy and attack for 430% damage. On kill, gain 2 stamina for this ability, which it costs 4, so it's going to cut the cost in half on a kill, and inflict marked for 1 turn on a kill again for on the most wounded enemy, and reduce their turn meter by 100%. So there's definitely a kind of gang up mechanic here, an overwhelm mechanic, which is what this new boon is, which we'll get to in a second, but a very interesting mechanic that is going to, push this group to single fire and focus down targets, which again, we'll see how that works out in raids, but a couple of the raid chapters do have 1 target or a very primary target. So the ability to attack 1 character at a time and really focus them down seems good to me, but we'll see how it works out. But anyway, that is the King Under the Mountain special 2. Then we have his passive ability, which is on my order. Whenever this character uses an ability, grant 1 stack of assistance to 1 random Thorin's company ally. When an enemy with Overwhelmed is attacked, gain 10% turn meter, gain 15% max health, and 30% resistance. Now that's separate. That's not whenever they're attacked. That's just with the passive, like most of them on leaders especially have those kind of just increased stat effects. So whenever an enemy with Overwhelm is attacked, gain 10% turn meter. And again, assistance is whenever a basic is used, someone else is going to assist and attack, like Eomer has. So not a bad passive there. And then last but not least, the thing that kind of brings us all together is the Stubbornness of Dwarves leadership ability. And it says, when Thorin's company squad members attack the same enemy consecutively, inflict 1 stack of Overwhelmed, up to 10 stacks max. If the target enemy has marked, they cannot evade or block the incoming attack. So again, his his second special here, King of the Mountain, that inflicts mark, that's going to make it so they can't evade hits, they can't block, which again, there are lots of implications for that, but with his lead in play, they can't get out of those hits. Remove all stacks of Overwhelmed when another target enemy is attacked. So if you do attack someone else, you remove Overwhelmed. When an enemy with Overwhelm dies, Thorin company squad members gain 10% turn meter and heal for 10% of their max health. Thorin's company squad members gain plus 20% focus and plus 20% max health. So that's the whole kit, which is kind of a lot to take in. And honestly, we need to see how these kits kind of look together. So we'll be doing more videos in the future, kind of on a spreadsheet, looking at how they actually interact. But here we get a little note on the new unique character boon, which is Overwhelmed, which says when attacked, receive an additional plus 20% damage per stack. So again, if you remember here, we can get up to 10 stacks. So the damage as you focus down targets is going to start increasing pretty significantly, up to 200% damage on some big hits. Is going to be pretty significant. So that by itself is pretty cool. But it says key attributes: Thorin Oakenshield, descendant of the King of Erebor, leads with strength and courage, and in face of insurmountable odds. Not a leader satisfied to idly let others fight to win. With heavy sword in hand, he leads by example, charging into battle with his fellow dwarves. Seeing the great Thorin Oakenshield in battle is a sight to behold, and inspires and embodies every dwarf under his command with extra vigor and focus. So again, he's kind of leading by example, which is where the whole overwhelmed thing comes from. And it says strategy chips here, which actually is going to talk about glyphs in a second as well, which I think is interesting because that's right around the corner. It says follow my lead is key to Thorin's early game strategy. By isolating big threats on the enemy squad, make sure Thorin has enough focus and speed from glyphs to ensure he inflicts marked consistently. So glyphs are going to be pretty big for this team. It says Thorin's passive on my orders grants assistance to Thorin's company allies, keeping the overwhelmed chain going. Again, we want to get that chain to 10 as quickly as possible, doing massive damage, taking enemies out. And then stubbornness of dwarves will prevent an enemy with marked from blocking or evading. This is a very powerful effect that can tear through defensive abilities, so keep it in mind when choosing a strategy. So that's the quick overview, the snapshot of all these things. Again, just a team that really does well, kind of single fire, but focusing on one enemy at a time, which I think is interesting and could have a lot of raid viability. Now, when this is coming, it is starting December 11th, and it'll be here for a week. So we're only as of this date of this coming out, we're only 2 weeks out from this happening, which means if you have not farmed the characters, you're going to have to panic farm like crazy. I'm sure they'll be packed, which is probably the reason for this. So here, if you look down here, it says legendary and lore and soon to be heroes Middle-earth. Thorin Oakenshield will require utilizing goblins and or / wargs. Details on the warg coming soon to unlock and obtain. So just like Elrond, we needed a 5-star team of elves to unlock him at 5 stars, 6 to 6, so on and so forth. We are going to need a 5-star team of goblins to unlock Thorin, which I do not see many goblins. Shout out to you if you're the person who I see in Arena once in a while who does have that like year 9, 7-star team of goblins, because you're going to basically get a free Thorin, which is pretty cool. So that's the requirement with a warg coming to the game. And again, just like before, we don't get the unlock until the tier 5. So you have to have them at 5 stars to get the unlock going. And that's kind of it. That's kind of the kit reveal. Those are the characters required. I wanted to pull up the game and look at the goblins because I do think they're sort of I wouldn't say a premium team, but they do have a premium character on their team. First of all, the Great Goblin is not farmable outside of just purchasing with gems. So unless you've been doing this for a while or are going to start doing this really, quickly, that's going to be an expensive character to get on his own. Now, technically, there are 5 of the goblins, and they mention a warg coming, so there's no reason you need the Great Goblin, but obviously it'd be nice if you built a actual functioning team. So unless this warg ends up leading goblins or something, I don't know. We'll see. But again, Great Goblin puts this team together, so it makes sense to get him if you're going to. Grimpa's the easiest farm. He is going to be your guild energy, so he's guild 2-3. So everyone could have a 7-star Grimpa in less than 2 weeks. That's not the problem. But then we have a arena farm right here with Golbers, which again, I don't know about you guys. I've had other characters I'm farming in arena for other teams, and Golbers has not been on my priority list at all. Obviously, I have 7. You can't see here, but I have 17 shards of him after playing since launch, and so I've never really bought his stuff. I think I've gotten them through the free chest, and that's all. So Golbers is also going to be a slow farm and one that you'll probably have to pause other farms to get, which again is kind of interesting. Then we have a hard farm, Shadow 4-9. And we have the last one, I believe, is also a hard farm for he's a hard farm, but he's light side. So we have a late light side, late hard side. We have an arena, and we have a premium. Just he requires crystals to unlock, and then Grimpa is easy to farm. So not the most easy. Like, you should have half of these built and just do this one thing. I think you're gonna have to really shift gears a lot if you're wanting to unlock Thorin the first go around. Now, if Elrond is any speculation, which again, I would just be very careful with speculation because it doesn't always pan out. For someone like Elrond, for the Rivendell Elves, this team is, I think, the most well-rounded team in the game. They do well or relatively well in every single raid chapter. They're good in arena. I think when we have multi-team PvP, they're going to be a staple team. So it makes sense that Thorin's company would also be that kind of high-caliber team, I would assume. But again, we've also had teams like the Haradrim who I personally have been disappointed in, who were kind of promised to be good in chapter 2 of the raid, and I have not found that success yet. Now glyphs are coming out, and I think that will get them there, but they came out before glyphs, so it's just been the team you've had to be patient with if you've used them. So I won't, I'm not going to say, oh, get Thorin, they're going to be amazing, be broken, whatever it is, because we don't know for sure. But it is goblins required. We do have a warg coming. It actually says wargs plural, so wherever it is down here, it says wargs, which again, I don't know if that means there's going to be a warg just tag, and that's just all that's saying. But it says details on the warg coming soon. So potentially you could bypass the Great Goblin, but if it's a warg that's going to be a marquee, you're going to spend money to marquee anyway. So it's kind of your choice on how you want to do it. But maybe you bypass the arena purchases and do 2 premium characters. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Are you going to get Thorin? What do you think of the kit? I don't know. I'm interested to see. I like seeing more content coming out in the game, more legendary characters. I'm bummed we didn't get a shadow one, but it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.